Hello and welcome. Today we're bringing you some more questionable umpiring decisions from the gentleman's game. Get ready to be surprised as we dive right in. First up, we have a decision that could have changed the history of the Ashes. Ben Stokes' heroic innings at Headingley during the 2019 Ashes is widely regarded as one of the best individual performances of all time. But this innings would have never reached its glorious conclusion if umpire Joel Wilson hadn't misjudged an LW appeal. With just 2 runs left, Nathan Lyon struck Stokes right on the front pad and the Aussies went ballistic. Unfortunately for them, Joel Wilson didn't think too much of the appeals and they had no more reviews left at that point. Replays showed that Stokes was in fact caught plumb in front of the stumps. The decision itself isn't that odd given that umpires are prone to errors just like any other human being, but the impact this decision had on the result was huge to say the least. Some better fielding and decision-making from the Aussies would have helped their cause as well. Next up, we have one of the many confusing decisions Steve Buckner made throughout his long career. During a particular test match between Australia and Pakistan, the late great Shane Warne bowled a wonderful delivery that bamboozled the batsman. It drifted in and straightened off the pitch, crashing into the pads. At first glance, it looked out, no doubt about it. Steve Buckner had other ideas and he just smiled and shook his head while Warne appealed with his hands in the air. Replays confirmed the obvious, and while the commentators debated about whether this was out or not, this decision made its way on Buckner's long list of dubious decisions. There was no DRS back then either, so it's pretty safe to say Warne was hard done by the umpire here. Okay, here we have an example of why fans and players alike still criticize the DRS. During the 2013-2014 Ashes, Shane Watson got Joe Root to edge one behind to the keeper. Or so it seemed, because Mary Erasmus raised his finger right away. Root was just as quick to review, and the replays that followed put everyone in a state of confusion. The ball had passed really close to the bat, but Hotspot didn't show any contact between bat and ball. To make matters even more confusing, Snicko showed a delayed spike. The ball had already passed the bat when it registered a noise. So where did this noise come from? No one really knows. While it's possible that Root's bat may have clipped his pads, a lack of sufficient evidence meant the original decision had to stand. And just like that, the Englishman was sent on his way for edging a delivery his bat probably didn't touch. Even reviews don't always result in the correct decisions. Next up, we have what is possibly one of the worst, if not the worst, umpiring decision we have ever seen. A decision so bad we can't even give the umpire any benefits of the doubt here. During the 2001 Test series between Sri Lanka and England, the left-handed Sandhu Jayasuriya came from over the wicket and bowled a turning delivery to Alex Stewart. The Englishman failed to connect with the ball and the ball struck his pads. Now the ball had pitched so far outside the leg stump that it didn't even warrant an appeal. But not only did the Sri Lankans appeal, umpire Peter Manuel ended up giving Stewart out. It seemed as if he had completely forgotten the rules here, because for this to be given out, the ball should have been pitched within the stumps. The commentators were absolutely disgusted with the decision, and so was Stewart. A horrendous decision to say the least. Ironically, this wouldn't be the last questionable decision during this series. There were plenty more to follow. The 4th test of the 2003 series between the West Indies and Australia was one to remember. The Windies defied all odds and routed the Aussies to chase an unlikely 418 runs, thanks to centuries from Ramnaresh Sarwan and Shivnarine Chanderpaul. With the West Indies 7 wickets down and only 10 runs away from victory, Stuart MacGill bowled a beautiful leg spinner that crashed into Vasbah Drake's front pad. The tailender had made a huge defensive lunge forward and completely missed the ball. The now late David Shepherd decided to turn down the huge LBW appeal from MacGill and company, and the Windies went on to chase down the remaining runs for a memorable victory. Now, interestingly enough, Drake's was out for all the money in the world, and replays showed as much. The only explanation we can think of is that the ball pitched on the leg stumps and Drake's had planted his foot across the stumps towards long off, so maybe Mr. Shepherd assumed the ball was going down leg. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Time for some more Steve Buckner magic. During a test match between the Windies and Australia, Shane Warne bowled a flighted leg spinner from over the wicket to the left-handed Keith Arthurton. Since the delivery was pitched way outside the off stump, Arthurton decided against offering a shot, only for the ball to turn a mile and crash into his back leg. Now, the laws dictate that if a shot isn't offered, the ball doesn't have to hit the pads in line of the stumps. If the umpire thinks that the ball would have gone on to hit the wickets, he can give the batsman out LBW. And that's exactly what Buckner did. Truth be told, considering how much that ball turned, it's not unlikely that it would have clipped the stumps at least. Was this a stroke of genius from the controversial umpire or another questionable decision? You decide. This is one of those decisions that could have benefited from DRS if it was available at the time. During a test match between England and South Africa, Ashley Giles bowled a superb arm ball to Graham Smith. The big South African stepped across his stumps and tried to flick the ball, but missed it completely. The resulting appeal was turned down instantly by the umpire. This delivery was so full and straight that the only way it could be not out was if Smith had edged it onto his pads. Replays show that not only had Smith not edged the ball, he was as plumb as it gets. We can understand why the umpire might have thought this wasn't out, but South Africa were already 308 for 0 at that point, so not really a great decision from England's perspective. Remember when we showed you one of the worst decisions of all time? This one makes that list too. During the third test of the 2002 series between New Zealand and England, umpire Doug Cowie gave a decision so atrocious that it even left the bowler scratching his head. Andre Adams bowled a beautiful outswinger that beat the outside of Andrew Flintoff's bat. The gap between bat and ball was as clear as day. The umpire could have fit his arm through it. But for one reason or another, the wicketkeeper appealed, and Mr. Cowie raised the dreaded finger. Flintoff was absolutely livid while Adams stood there wondering what in the world had just happened. If the bowler looks that confused after a wicket, there's a good chance it wasn't supposed to be one. The 2025 Test series between England and India was a certified banger, and the last test was just the icing on the cake. During England's remarkable collapse on the last day of the series, Mohammad Siraj bowled an in-swinger that smacked into Jamie Overton's pads. The big Englishman had walked some way across his stumps, so there was a chance that the ball might be missing. After a long pause, Kumar Dharmasena gave it out. Unsurprisingly, Overton reviewed, and initial replays show that the ball might be missing the stumps after all. But as fate would have it, Hawkeye showed the ball clipping the leg stump by the tiniest of margins, meaning the original decision would stand. We can't really blame the umpire for this one. Technology had more of a role to play here than Dharmasena himself. A millimeter on either side, and the English sentiment about this would have been very different. Time to show you a rather unusual decision by the great Billy Bowden. During the 2005 Ashes, the highly entertaining umpire raised a few eyebrows by shaking his head to Brett Lee's animated appeals. Lee had just bowled a brute of a delivery that had smashed into the batsman's back leg and left him at all fours, quite literally. But that wasn't enough to warrant an LBW apparently, because the Aussies' appeals fell on deaf ears. You could argue that Lee's around the wicket angle made it seem like the ball would go on to miss the stumps. He was bowling to a left-hander after all, but the ball was pretty full and it struck the back leg, so it wasn't that doubtful either. Plus, Hawkeye showed the ball smashing into the middle stump. No wonder Ponting wasn't pleased. Here we have a rather odd sequence of events that will leave your jaw hanging. During the 2011 BBL, the Sydney Thunder were chasing down 154 against the Melbourne Stars. David Warner was leading the charge, and with 46 runs left, he decided to take a tight single. Matthew Wade ran in and showcased some brilliant footwork to kick the ball onto the stumps, but then everyone went back to their places as if nothing had happened. The fielders walked back while Warner casually started putting his gloves on, and in a surprising twist, it was revealed that Warner had actually been run out. He had jumped up just as the ball hit the stumps, meaning he wasn't grounded behind the crease. The umpire wasn't really at fault here since the Stars hadn't even appealed. Warner then went on to smash a century as his side took the game by 6 wickets. We've already mentioned how the 2001 Test series between Sri Lanka and England had some of the worst umpiring the game has ever seen. During one of the matches, Mutai Muralitharan had Nasser Hussain out not once, but twice, but both times the umpire refused to lift his finger. The ball struck the pads and bounced off the bat straight to silly point on both occasions. The first one was fairly obvious due to the massive deflection, while the second one could be considered a difficult one to judge. Umpire BC Kure, however, didn't care about either, and all the Sri Lankans could do was wave their arms and express their disappointment. But Murali still ended his career with 800 wickets, so no harm done. We have another questionable decision from the same series. Ashley Giles had gotten the batter to edge one straight to first slip. The Englishman's appeals were turned down immediately and play resumed as normal. Now at first glance it did seem as if the ball might have come off the batsman's back pad. The bat was within the line of the body and the compact defensive lunge made it difficult to judge what the ball might have come off. But it was soon discovered that the ball had actually taken a huge chunk off the bat, nicking the shoulder and going straight into the fielder's hands. We could cut the umpire some slack here, but given the number of horrible decisions given in this series, we've decided against it. During a BBL match, the umpire made a really bad judgment call and gave a decision that can only be described as downright bad. The left-arm Danny Briggs fired in a delivery that Tom Cooper tried to switch hit towards the offside. The ball took a huge deflection off his gloves and crashed into his pads. And by huge deflection, we mean massive. Briggs still appealed, and as you'd have it, the umpire raised a finger. The commentators were beyond shocked, and Cooper wasn't too pleased either. How this decision went in favor of the bowler is beyond us. But hey, umpires make mistakes too, though not as obvious as this one. We're ending with a Billy Bowden classic. During an ODI between Australia and the West Indies, Mitchell Johnson speared in a Yorker that struck Narsingh Deonarine on the back leg. Johnson appealed, Bowden walked away, and the batters decided to take a single. But just as Deonarine made it to the other end, Bowden walked back to his mark and decided to raise the finger. Johnson had absolutely no idea what to make of that. We're not sure the batters did either. It wasn't the decision that was questionable here, but the way it was given. Apparently, the umpire had taken a solid 8 seconds to decide, way longer than what is normally seen in the game today. But better late than never, right? And there you have it, folks. Some of our most questionable umpiring decisions from the cricketing world. As always, be sure to like and subscribe for more crazy compilations from the Gentleman's Game.